Hey, what's up? It's Comic95 the Savior. So for this video, I really want to piggyback off of the last few videos that I did, and we're going to stay on the topic of, giving advice for those of you that are college students. So before we get started in the actual topic of this video, which is going to give you guys some information, some not so good things that people do not tell you about student visas, I want to first spend the first 6-7 minutes of this video. Sorry I gotta make it so long, but I want to give you all the information. And so without any further ado, I want to get back onto the topic of the $10,000. So, a lot of you guys seem to have been very confused, like, oh, I already have $10,000, or, to you, $10,000 is a lot of money, and so is $20,000, etc. But I want to explain that better. So, if you really care about Japan, you should be taking advantage of the information that I've already given you. I have a blog post that goes into more detail and it really already answers this question, but I know that some of you guys are lazy, don't know how to read, don't like to read, whatever, and thus I kind of feel like it's a waste of time to even reply to some of you guys' questions if you're not going to read them anyway. It's like, if you really want advice, really want information, there should be no such thing as something being too time consuming, too long, or whatever to read. It's like, do you want the help or not? So, long story short, I want to explain the $10,000 better. So I think a lot of you guys got confused. The $10,000 is not for you to live off of in Japan. You would need much more than that. The $10,000 is to be used as though it is an unemployment check to yourself. If you're not familiar with what an unemployment check is, or what unemployment is, it is essentially money that you receive for not having a job. It does not last forever. It is not meant to last forever. It is simply meant to help you sustain and get by until you find a new job. With that said and done, this $10,000 is made for that. This is not money to pay off your tuition. This is not money to pay for your housing to get started. This is money to pay for your monthly expenses until you get yourself a job, or until your student loans kick in and when you get your financial aid. This is not money to live off of month to month. You do not come to Japan with $10,000 or $20,000 and say, oh, this is my money to have fun with. I'm rich. No, that's not going to happen. What's going to happen is if you stupidly come over with that, $10,000 is one semester. One semester worth of tuition. Not including your housing, not including transportation, not including food. So this won't even help you for that if you end up behind on your tuition. This is simply money that is used to pay for food in your stomach, a roof over your head, and to give yourself transportation. So food, transportation, housing. This will cover that for at least about 6 months, if not longer. This is not meant to use for 6 months. So this does not mean come to Japan, don't work for 6 months, get a job once it runs out. This is cushion money. This is backup money. So just in case you can't find a job right away, which I will talk about why you are not going to find a job right away, you do not want to blow through this money. It's not meant to be spent. It is savings. It's money that you have just in case. It's money for just in case you decide you don't like Japan and you want to go back home. My best friend that I had here in Japan left in just 3 months. She spoke better Japanese to me. She was a white girl, blonde hair, blue eyes, petite, everything. And I couldn't believe it. It's like, how are you going home before me? But you want to know what? She didn't have a good experience here. She didn't like Japan. She studied Japanese way longer than I did. She came from a family that had more money than I had, and it still didn't go as she had planned. So do not be fooled. Nobody comes to Japan expecting to go home in a few months. Nobody comes to Japan expecting to have bad, situations. But life does happen. And that is what this money is for. Ideally, you want $20,000, but most people don't come here with that much, and I didn't even come here with $20,000. So I will not advise for you to do it, but I will say that if you are smart, you would. $20,000 would be a year's worth of living expenses in Japan, but humble living expenses. You are not going to be living the life with $20,000. Keep in mind the average salary in the US is $57,000. You just living off of $20,000 is not going to be very nice, especially in a city in which your expenses are, not necessarily all that cheap, especially if you have trouble finding and or getting a job. So again, to wrap it all up, you need as much money as you can possibly get. $10,000 is the bare minimum that you want to have, and it is not meant to live off of. It also is not meant to pay for your expenses. You need both money to cover your tuition first and money to live off of. If you only have money to live off of, you are not going to be able to stay in Japan because your school is going to want their money. You can't live here on a visa and not pay your school. That's not going to work out. You're going to get deported. You're going to get kicked out of school. Be realistic. Use your brain. Think about it. Also, you guys, as much as I hate to say it, I've said this several times before, but I think a lot of you guys kind of missed my point. If you are busy worried about what people think about you in Japan, worried about dating, making friends, etc., you are not someone that's serious about coming to Japan. I literally have to pray sometimes to stop myself from replying to some of you guys' comments and some of your emails. I know I sound like a total bitch. I don't care. I'm being totally real with you guys, because it's like, haven't I already answered this before? I have an entire blog and playlist that answers all of these questions that people keep asking me, and beyond just me, there's other YouTubers that do as well. You don't have to watch my videos or like my stuff. That's fine. But what I'm saying is if you're spending all of your time, trying to learn Japanese on YouTube, and you're busy trying to ask people that live in Japan or that have been in Japan for their advice and experience on Japan, you are showing me that you are not serious about Japan. First of all, let me get this out of the way. I've said this a million times, and I hope this can be the last time I have to say it. You do not need Japanese to move to Japan. It is not going to help you get a job. It is not going to help you, enroll in school. Nobody cares. If they wanted people that spoke Japanese, they would hire a regular Japanese person that can also speak English fluently. Why the hell would they want to hire you? Yes, there are some circumstances where you can get a little more pay for speaking Japanese, but the reality is none of the crap that you're going to learn from some little Genki book or your little, YouTube playlist on Japanese videos, some Japanese Pot 101. It is extremely unlikely that is going to get you to a high enough level where it's going to be giving you a better job. Not to mention, nobody cares about your Japanese ability. What matters is that you have a work visa and that you actually have a bachelor's degree in order to get that. If you don't have those things and you lack experience, knowing Japanese is stupid. Also, I hate to say this, break it to you guys, but your business plans. I have business plans too, but guess what? Unlike you, I have a degree and I'm already living in Japan. For someone that's not in Japan, telling me that you plan to open up, your own little clothing store or whatever you have going on, your little homemade business, it's nice and I don't want to knock it. It's a good way to make money to get to Japan. But if you think that this is somehow helping you, in the meantime, unless you have some serious plans where you have, I don't even know how to explain it. You have proof of income, this is bringing in money now, or it's going to start bringing in some serious money within the next few months. Be real with yourself, because you're only playing yourself, you're not playing me. You need to do something that's going to make you money right now. If you're not earning college credits, you're not working a job right now and saving up money, then you're not serious about coming to Japan. It doesn't take much to save $10,000. That's very little. And that's the least that you need. Mind you, once again, this is not money for your tuition. So that $10,000 is after you've already paid for your first semester. If you haven't even gotten the money together to pay for your first semester, you're not going to Japan for at least a few years, sweetheart. You have to get a loan. You have to get credit. You have to get serious. You need a loan. You need credit. You need a job. You need an actual plan. And your plan isn't just researching what school you want to go to. That's a part of the plan. But your plan really deals more so with finances. You need to determine how much it's going to cost you as an individual. I have several blog posts that give you advice and information on, budgeting and giving you examples. You can use mine as an outline, and you can figure out things on your own as far as what you personally want and or need. I am not you. I'm not your mother. I can't babysit you, tell you what to do, what not to do. I know I went over the 7 minutes. We're going to make it 15. I cannot make you do anything. I can only advise you. I can only tell you from my own personal experiences and what I have seen. I can only tell you what I regret that I did not do. You have to make your own decisions. I can lead a horse to water. I cannot make it drink. If you are too lazy to read the comments that I leave in response to your questions, you're too lazy to click on another video and listen to it like a podcast, you're too lazy to read my blog post giving you the answers to your questions, then you're definitely not going to make it here. And I hope that you do. You don't have to necessarily listen to me to survive and make it big in Japan. But the reality is the advice that I'm giving you isn't good to begin with. I'm telling you the cheapest, easiest way to get here, not the best way. To be honest, it'd be a lot better if you had more credit, better credit, and more money to deal with. But I'm being realistic and letting you know that you don't have to be filthy rich to come to Japan. You can most certainly do it without having a ton of money. And having $10,000 to $20,000 is not having a ton of money. Once again, that is less than half of what the average American lives off of, and it is about $10,000 plus less than what the average single Japanese person lives off of. Not a great idea, but you can do it. So once again, this is not money to live off of, and if you're serious about coming to Japan, you're not going to be wasting your time asking stupid, silly questions. To be honest, I've already made videos answering these silly questions, and I plan to continue to do more in the future. And I'm sorry to insult those of you that have asked, because we all think these questions. There's nothing wrong with that. But the reality is that beyond just us thinking it, it's a form of procrastination. You're mentally satisfying yourself by telling yourself, okay, if I'm asking these questions to people that live in Japan, if I'm learning Japanese, if I do research on how to open up my own clothing store, I'm helping myself come to Japan. And the reality is you're not. You're feeding other people's egos online. You're wasting your time doing nothing more than reading manga and playing video games. That is not helping you get here. Your Japanese ability is not going to magically make money fall out of the sky and give you a flight to Japan. That's not the way that it works. And to be honest, while like I said, it can be helpful, it's something that you want to have, that you want to work on after you've gotten your money together. Your focus for coming to Japan should be earning college credits and earning money. Learning Japanese is last. It's at the bottom of your list, because the reality is I've already said this before, most of what you're going to learn in your home country is going to be stuff that people don't actually say or use. You're going to learn a lot of super formal, super weird, super robotic sounding words and stuff that's going to get you laughed at, and you're going to sound ridiculous and stupid. You will learn real Japanese after you actually move to Japan, make friends, date, go to school with Japanese people. That is the reality. Also, my very last thing before we get started on the real topic of this video. If you're trying to come to Japan because you want to, be here so desperately bad and you want to stay here long term, but you don't have a bachelor's degree, so getting a student visa is the easiest option, not going to knock you for it. That's exactly what I did. But keep in mind, Japan is not like how you see in manga and anime. You're not going to be wearing some little schoolgirl uniform. You're not going to be wearing the little sailor suit type thing. No. You would look ridiculous. And yes, there are some people that choose to go to school like that and you look really dumb. And people just think that you're in high school. You look stupid. Please don't do that. I've seen people do it. I've seen mostly other Asian people do it. Just being real, not throwing any shade. But yeah, then not just that. School in Japan is arguably the exact same as it is as college in America. It's probably a little bit quieter, but it's the same type people. You have hoes, you have fuckboys, etc. It doesn't feel any different from your college back at home, other than there are less students. As I've said before, I would be a total hypocrite if I told you not to go to Japan because I went to Japan for school. But the reality is, whether you choose a Japanese university or an American or other foreign one, it's overpriced. You're paying significantly more just to be in Japan for a crappier education with less qualified professors, with, bad material, bad work, bad everything. This is not a better school experience by far. I must stand by that. I enjoy going to school here, but it's not like how you're thinking. It's not like anime. You're not going to have the little school uniform. And the reality is, most of the Japanese people that you meet, big shocker, you guys, they're only your friend because they want to learn English. Yes, just being real. They want to be friends with you because either they want to fuck you, they think you have someone for them to fuck. It looks cool to have foreign friends, aka people that you use for sex and free English lessons. Nobody wants to admit that, but it's fucking true. Yes, you can meet some legitimate, genuine friends, but the reality is most of the people that you encounter, either it's because they like you, and normally when they like you, it basically just means they're trying to use you for sex and experiment, or overall their intentions simply aren't all that great. So again, it's totally up to you. I just wouldn't put Japanese college or high school on this huge pedestal. It's the exact same experience. And it'll be hit or miss. If you are fat, tall, ugly as a girl, you're not going to have as good of experience as someone who is seen as attractive here. And if you are fat, short, ugly as a guy, you're not going to have as good of an experience as someone who is attractive here. Same difference. So don't put all your eggs in one basket. And don't waste a lot of money, because you might think you're going to love Japan, and in actuality, you probably will not. It is not the same making friends here or dating here as it is in the United States or any other country for that matter. Japan is going to be whatever you make it. You can have the greatest time of your life here, or it can be the absolute worst. It all depends on what your mindset is going into this. And keep in mind that unless you worked your butt off, if you used loans or credit, you're going to have to pay all of that stuff back. And if nothing else, you've now wasted your time thinking that you wanted to go here and live here. And in actuality, you kind of didn't. Nobody wants to admit it. And I know that you guys are going to come and say, no, I really love Japan. No, you don't. You like Japan for the same reason why most Asians like America. It's because of TV, books, porn, Hollywood. And that's totally cool. If we were to all be real, we only know where Japan is on a map. Thanks to these things. We know about Japan because of porn, because of anime, because of J-pop, because of the media. It's the truth. And if it wasn't for these things, nobody would give a fuck about Japan. There's nothing, but the only stereotypes that we have from Japan is the fact that they're short. Sushi comes from here and ramen. If you get rid of all the pop media stuff, this is all you have. So no, we don't know about porn, we don't know about anime, we don't know about music. What do we have of Japan that really makes it unique? Now, if you want to dig a little bit deeper, fine, you can go into Japanese traditional culture. But the only reason why this stuff even really gets explored is because of the mainstream media. So again, I'm not trying to tell you what to like or dislike. I'm just letting you know there's nothing wrong with coming to Japan for those reasons. But because that's so, you're going to have a wake-up call. You're going to really love it here for a moment, and then you're going to find things that you don't like so much. And you're going to have to ask yourself, is it worth it to stay in a country where it seems like they're stuck between third world and first world? The pay is extremely low. There's things that are super convenient and things that are not so convenient. And then have to learn a new language that can only pretty much be used in Japan. And then to spend hundreds of thousands, if not close to that, dollars on your education. You can easily spend about $20,000, $30,000 just for 1 year of university here in Japan. It's expensive. And you have to decide, is this really what I want? Is it really worth it? And of course you're going to say, yes, it's worth it. I want to go to Japan. And that's fine. But I'm just letting you know that, to be totally honest, the best route to get to Japan would be to finish school in your home country and come to Japan to work. This way, there's no investment. You don't have to waste any money, no time. You go straight into working here. So it's totally up to you. I know you're not going to listen to me. And like I said, I'd be a hypocrite to tell you not to do it because that's how I came to Japan. But the reality is, if I could do it all over again, I'm not going to lie, I probably still would have because I wanted the experience. But the truth is, I wasn't missing out on nothing. In fact, I probably had more fun in college in America, and I definitely had better professors. The professors in Japan are really nice, and they made it super easy to pass. But I did not feel like I was getting a quality education. The only classes that I had that were good were two: my technology class and my history class. Every other class that I took sucked. The professor seemed unqualified and ditzy, and I was like, this is what college in Japan is like? And now I see why they, have such a high whatever for degrees that come from America. That's the other thing too. People value your degree more if it's from the US versus Japan. Go figure. So that's that. I'm not gonna, knock on that anymore. All I have to say is $10,000 is not a lot of money. If you can't even put together $10,000, you can forget about coming to Japan. You need a way to pay your tuition, and that $10,000 is not meant to go towards your tuition. It is emergency money to live off of in the event that you cannot find a job right away. It cannot carry you on forever through a duration of stay here. You also cannot work ridiculous amount of hours because you can only work part-time while still making those hours go around your school schedule. So, that is that. I am done talking about this. If you have more questions, please read my blog, or you can ask a question down in the comments down below, and I will try my best to answer you. I now want to get into what this video is actually supposed to be about. Sorry I made this so long, but I don't care. I want to answer it all. And if you're serious about Japan, you should be appreciative of all of this information. So, let's get to it. Okay, so since this video already got really long, I will try my best to summarize this and make it as short as possible. I might make a blog post on it, I'm not sure. But anyway, I want to talk to you guys about things that nobody really talks about as far as student visas go in Japan. So, you probably want to come to Japan on a student visa for a few different reasons. One, if you're someone who really plans to do illegal things, aka you have the intention to basically work here, but you don't have a bachelor's degree and you want to go through a loophole. Two, if you call yourself coming over here in the hopes of getting a Japanese spouse and you want to give yourself more time, as 90 days isn't a ton of time, and it can be more complicated to quickly get married when you came here as a tourist, it can complicate things, versus if you're already here on a student visa. Or number three, which I don't think I already said, if you plan to come here to try to experience being a student in Japan because you think this is going to be like anime and you have a thing for Asians, you have yellow fever. I ain't gonna judge y'all on your own personal weird stuff. We'll leave that alone. But what I will talk about is, while all of these things might sound nice and all, there's actually a lot of challenges with having a student visa. So whether you are here at university or you plan to go to a language school, these are some of the problems that you will encounter. So the first one that you might come across is obviously getting your permission to work on your student visa. Now you can actually apply for this as soon as you arrive at the airport, at the same time that you're getting your visa, aka your residence card, which is not a visa, but it's confusing. When you live in Japan, we use the two words interchangeably, or two things interchangeably. Your visa is actually 2 pages inside of your passport that have basically been printed into your passport. Your residence card is essentially your social security card, kind of mixed with a state ID, but realistically your social security card is your My Number card, but that's another story. Long story short, your state ID is what people will call your visa. It has your visa status on it, but in actuality, your real visa is what you receive in your home country from your COE and is printed in your passport. So once you receive your residence card, aka your visa, at the airport, if you did things the right way, you have the option to fill out an application. You can either do it online in your home country and bring it to Japan or request one there. Now, depending on the staff that you have and depending on if you can remember this, they can give you your little stamp on the back of your residence card, aka visa, to get permission to work. Some staff are not willing to do this. I personally did not go this route, but you can choose to do this and it will make things a lot easier since you are already at the airport. However, it can be a little bit complicated if you don't already have an address or a phone number. But again, it depends on the staff that's there. They can be really nice and willing to work with you and help you out. Other times they can be really, jerk-like and assholes and, not help you and basically say you have to do it later. You have to go to immigration for it. So it totally depends. Same thing goes with your address. Normally, your address won't necessarily be stamped on your, residence card as soon as you get there. Instead, your residence card will be blank, have no address, and you will have to go to your ward office to get that, stamped on the back of your student visa. It depends on, how you do it, who the staff is, and whether you can remember certain things or not, because otherwise they do not care. They will not try to help you. Their goal is to get you in and out as fast as possible, and they're glad that you don't have these questions or applications and stuff ready. They want you to leave. They're not trying to really help you. So that's that. Now that we got that out of the way, so yeah, that's one thing. It can be a little bit complicated to get that first, your first permission to work or whatever on your student visa. There's like a catch-22. You're supposed to basically have a jobs information to fill out for the job part, but how can you have a job if you don't have legal permission to work? So some companies are willing to work with you and tell you, just go and get, the stamp or whatever. Other companies won't give you the time of day because you don't already have one. So it's a catch-22. In actuality, you don't need to actually fill out the jobs information. You simply need to request for permission to work, and they will totally understand the immigration. But again, it totally depends on who's doing, the application work. Sometimes they can be jerks and be like, okay, who's hiring you? So it gets really messy. And in actuality, the rule was supposed to be that you have to wait a few months before you can request permission to work. That is not entirely true though, because myself and other people included have gotten permission to work before that. But apparently in the past this was a thing. I cannot speak on whether this is factual or not. I can only talk about myself and what my friends have experienced. So again, this is another reason why you need that $10,000. It might take you some time before you can actually work in Japan. You can work under the table and illegally, but I do not recommend it. The police do stings and people do snitch. You do not want to get in trouble or get blackballed or blackmailed by an employer. Huge mistake. You do not want to go to jail in Japan or get deported for 10 plus years. It'll make it hard to come back or to enter another country. So anyway, the next problem that you will come across, and once again, the reason why you don't want to come to Japan expecting to live off of that $10,000 or $20,000. Most companies, especially if you live in Tokyo, are not going to pay you much money if they even choose to hire you. So students, even if you are a native English speaker and you have experience, because you are a student, they will take advantage of this. And most people will only be willing to pay you about $15 an hour. Normally, you would get paid much less. So in general, conversation schools or any type of English cafe, they're only going to pay you about $8 to $12 an hour. Sure, they'll pay for your transportation, but you're only going to be working a few hours. So you're probably just going to make $30 to $40, if even that, before taxes. So again, that's another drawback to being on a student visa. It's okay money if you have another job and more income, but you cannot live off of just getting, $50 or $100 a week. It's not realistic. And again, you are a student. You have to make time to actually study, do your homework, and of course have fun, date, hang out, have friends, etc., and study Japanese. You cannot spend all of your time working, and you're limited to just working about 28 hours. You can work more hours during vacation and holiday time, but most employers do not risk this because they don't want to get in trouble or trust your information, and they're too stuck in their ways that even if you explain to them, like, no, look, this is what it says on the immigration website, etc., they'll be like, oh yeah, that's nice, but you're only going to work 20 hours because we don't want to touch going beyond that. It reminds me of when I used to work at Walmart when I was a teenager, They only let me work every other day for 4 hours a day because they didn't want to get in trouble with child labor laws because they've been sued and had bad experiences in the past. So that really sucked. I was only working like 20, 15-ish hours a week. Even although I was already, done with school, I, had the time to work more. They were like, nope. You have to be, I think I had to be either 18 or 21. I was like 16 at the time or 17 or whatever. And this is during the summertime. It's like, I'm not in school right now. So, whatever. Not going to get into that. Back on subject. So, yeah. You're not going to be able to work that full amount of hours. And also keep in mind that if you were to even work 28 hours, that would normally require you to work during the daytime. Well, most of the available classes are going to be in the daytime. There's only a few classes that you can take at night. Thus, you will probably never really work 28 hours unless you have some type of weekend job in which they allow you to work all Saturday, all Sunday. And this is also why I advise that you find one off day, preferably a Friday and or a Monday or even a Thursday, not a Thursday, like a Wednesday. Some type of day in which, places are kind of busy so that you can get as many hours in as possible. So beyond that, like I said, you're going to have low hourly rate. They're going to pay you even less than, another native speaker that has a degree or that's married to a Japanese person because you are a student. So you kind of get punished for this. And on top of that, you're seldomly going to be able to even work those 28 hours. They're normally going to have you work even less than that. The other difficult thing is getting a job on a student visa is hard to begin with. Most places will not give you the time of day. They do not work with people that are on student visas because it's too tricky trying to figure out whether you have permission to work or not. Your schedule is too hard to go around. They want someone that can work around their schedule, and they want someone that's more experienced, older, etc. Yes, some places will hire you and don't care, but for the most part, you're going to be stuck with just working cafe jobs. And cafe jobs pay the least in Japan. Cafe and, retail jobs. So you can work at a grocery store and you can get a job at a clothing store or at, a convenience store. But those jobs normally require that you have at least an N4 to N3 level of Japanese, which most of you do not have. I'd say N3 really to be safe. And yeah, it's a very tedious job. And let's just say Japanese people are not always the nicest when it comes to foreigners, when it comes to convenience and or grocery stores. They're in a rush, they're coming home from work, or it's first thing in the morning, they're on their way to work. They are not patient. They're like that old middle-aged, we'll leave race out of this woman that you deal with in America that asks for your manager. I've seen a lot of crazy stuff take place at convenience stores where it's very passive and not comparable to America entirely. But they can be extremely rude and not so professional even to their own. And if you're a foreigner, yeah, even worse. And I also won't lie, this is off subject. Foreigners don't tend to make good workers at convenience stores or grocery stores because they let their temper get the best of them. And they're not normally as polite or friendly. Now, don't get me wrong, when Japanese people do it, it's all formality and for show. But it does kind of make me feel like I'd rather be served by a Japanese person. But that's another story. We're not on the topic of my personal 2 cents on that. Let me get back on topic. The next problem that you will encounter is even after you graduate. So you have your degree, you spent time in Japan, you graduated from university here. It is actually extremely hard to change your visa status. This is like the most important thing that nobody talks about. Now, of course, as always, this is my own personal experience and opinion. I am not God. I cannot speak for everyone. And just because I had a hard time with something does not mean that you will too. But again, I'm just letting you know what I experienced. I almost ended up having to go back home to America because I had such a hard time changing my visa status. Almost every company that I tried to apply to or, that interviewed me, they were interested and they were like, oh, you went to school here? Oh, you have a degree? Oh my God, you're so young. You're just 22, blah, blah, blah. And then it came quickly back to, oh, but you have a student visa. Oh, I thought you had an instructor visa. Oh, yeah, I haven't had experience with this. Yeah, I don't know how to do this or blah, blah, blah. Or they'd ensure me like, oh, it's not going to be a problem. We can change it. And what would happen was they'll hire you. You'll start off working part-time, and then they'll find somebody else that has a work visa. They'll fire you for BS reason, lay you off, or start giving you less hours until you quit. And ultimately, now you just wasted months working here, never got your work visa. It's that bogus. Then the second thing that they do, so when they're not doing that, is they will interview you. They will look at your visa and then act surprised and then be like, oh, you have this kind of visa. Yeah, you can't work on this visa. And it's like, yeah, I can. Can you not see the stamp on the back of it? So they'll play games with you. And then when it comes to changing your visa, they're so Japanese people, I hate this about them, they don't like being corrected. So when people would tell me like, oh, like, I have no experience doing this, blah, 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 I would show them. I literally had the information printed out on how to change my visa status. They would be trying to convince me that they've worked with this in the past and that you have to leave the country and that you cannot change this from within. And so I would tell them like, that's not true. I even have the information from immigration. And while I didn't personally know anyone that's done this, because all of my friends that I went to school with, they seemingly left Japan. They got married, so they weren't even trying to get a work visa. They never graduated. They couldn't relate to me. I was literally at the point where I was starting to question, like, are they right? Is it not possible for me to change my visa status? I went through hell to change my visa status, might I add. So a lot of employers try to, like, basically use you. They'll use you for free labor. They'll have you work just enough hours so that you'll be satisfied, but they won't go through the hassle of sponsoring your visa. And so it's one thing for them to sponsor your visa, which they don't like doing that to begin with. But for some reason, they were acting like it was such a hard thing to change my status from student to work. And it was not. In fact, I would say that it was easier to do that than it was, to, I don't know, change from a tourist visa to whatever. And now, mind you, if you have a tourist visa, you're in an even worse situation. But it made me so upset. And so then beyond that, I felt like whenever I was interviewing with other white people, conveniently from America, ain't trying to come at y'all white people, just being real. Let me be politically correct. When I was interviewing with other foreign men, I noticed that they were the most vocal about this. So even worse than the Japanese people. They would tell me, they'd be like, oh, like, yeah, like, I have experienced this. We've hired people before. Like, yeah, like, you're going to have to leave the country. Like, maybe you can go to Korea or something and come back. And I was thinking, like, I do not want to go to Korea. Fuck no. And secondly, why would I want to waste money, spend hundreds of dollars on a ticket, round trip, come back when I can do this all right here, right now, without having to go through any of that mess? And so, like, even with Nova, this is the reason why I didn't work for them, you guys. People keep asking me, it's like, did you guys not watch the video? Please watch the video before you ask me stupid questions. I'm sorry, just being real. I didn't work for them because they wouldn't listen to me. I gave them the information. I literally sent them the links. And the Chinese woman that I was speaking to, I'm sorry, you guys, I can't help it. She basically replied back and said, my way or the highway. Like, do you want to work for us or not? Okay, if you're going to work for us, you're going to fill out the application that we gave you. And it's like, why would I fill out an application that's meant for people to apply for a COE from overseas when I live in Japan? This is the reason why you guys as workers have had to leave Japan and re-enter. That's not the way it's supposed to go. And the reason why I didn't want to do this is, if for any reason my visa doesn't get approved, now I just gave up my student visa for no reason. Now I have no visa and I really do have to leave the country. Whereas if I were to apply from within the country, sure, my application got denied, but at least I still have my visa. I'm not going to leave the country to apply for a job that only pays you $2,000 a month. How much of an idiot would I have to be? So not to get into that, my point is, basically, most people are going to be jealous of you, most foreigners, because they wish they came to school here. They think that you have money, which I didn't, but they act like you do. Like, they're jealous of you that you came to Japan and didn't have to, have a sham marriage like how they do. They're jealous that you have a degree that's relevant like how I do. My degree is in education. People hate on you for that. Japanese people, if you don't already have a work visa, they don't seem to be willing to look up the laws on immigration. They go based off of whatever they've been told or whatever they've heard, and whatever their past experiences have been. And they simply won't hire you. Or they'll hire you and then they'll make it where you have to work for them for a long period of time before they'll sponsor your visa. So they might say, oh, after 90 days or after 6 months. Okay, my visa expires in 3 months. I don't have 90 days to give you. What if you change your mind? And I pretty much went through that, you guys. So I hope you never experienced that. But I'm telling you my own experience. I went through hell to get visa sponsorship. It was a very lengthy and tedious process. Most employers gave me a very hard time, and most of the foreigners that interviewed me and or that were going to be my coworkers, they were assholes and very jealous-hearted. I experienced the jealousy from both people that were, Asian, as well as those that were European. They seem to have been jealous, like, oh, you're American, you're young, you have a relevant degree. I have none of these things. I'm here going to language school. Or, they're here and their husband has a job, in America, in Japan. They're from Asia, so this is the only job they can get because they're not a native speaker. and they're being paid less than you. So it's so much crap that you deal with. But it made me really, really upset because, like, okay, I'm being punished because I wasn't stupid and I went to school and got a degree in something that actually makes sense for what I plan to do. And on top of that, I happen to be born in the preferred country and I have the preferred accent. So beyond just being American, I get a lot of compliments on my voice. I'm yelling at you guys making this video, but I'm always told that I sound like a CD player, like not in a bad way, but like when I talk it's very clear. You can understand what I'm saying and I speak professionally, so people really like that. I have gotten a lot of my jobs because of that. But despite that, it's always like a hassle. It's like the foreign staff, they try to give you a hard time when you're trying to get your visa. So normally most companies have a foreigner that's working side by side. I actually do this as one of my part-time jobs, working side by side with a Japanese manager to help with the hiring process, because obviously as a native speaker you can understand what that foreigner is saying, you can translate things for them, etc. You're helpful, you're beneficial to the Japanese staff. Okay, with that said, normally whenever I was interviewing, even if the interview went great, it was like the foreign staff, typically some specific kind of guy, would chime in, or it'd be a girl. So I'll be totally honest with you guys, I'm not even gonna sugarcoat. It was almost always some guy from Northern Europe, some guy from America, or some girl from India or the Philippines that would act like really funky and be like, oh, like, don't you have a student visa? So yeah, like, you're gonna have to leave the country and, you know, reapply, but yeah, we can work with you. And then that would instantly make the Japanese manager like, oh, like, she'd have to leave the country? Like, yeah, we don't have any experience, you know, with student visas. Yeah, I'm not sure. Let me look into that. Which is basically Japanese for, yeah, sorry, we're not going to hire you unless we get really, really desperate. We're going to find someone that has a work visa, and we don't care if they're less qualified than you. Because all the parents care about is cute foreign teacher, oh my god, American accent, you're hired. And it really, really sucked for me. Like I said, it gave me a really hard time. So I'm not trying to scare you guys or discourage you. And if you have more questions, I'll go into more detail about this. But long story short, you will probably have difficulty finding a job both before you graduate and even after you graduate. Do not think going to school in Japan is going to necessarily change that for you. I hope that you don't go through this. I hope that you do find a job that pays you good. I'm simply letting you know the reality of how things can turn out for you. I pray to God that's not your case. It did all work out for me in the end, but this is something that can happen. I will make other videos talking about work visas because a lot of people are not familiar with those either. A work visa is not the same as a student visa. There are different kinds of work visas. Just because you have a work visa does not mean you can do any kind of work in Japan. There are limitations to it, and even to get certain work visas, you have to have a specific kind of degree. This is also why I told you guys to be very careful what you major in. So again, I hope this does not happen to you. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm simply letting you guys know that this is why you need to have that money. You don't know if you'll be able to get a job right away. You can, I won't say you will. You can have difficulty finding a job both before and after you graduate. There will be a lot of jealous-hearted foreigners. There will be a lot of Japanese people that, you know, employers, managers, co-workers, whatever, that are stuck in their ways, and instead of research stuff saying, I might be wrong, maybe things have changed, maybe I was misinformed, they will insist that they're right and that you're wrong and that you cannot change your visa status, or that in order to change it, it requires you to leave the country and you have to fill out the application that they give you. So there's a whole lot of, like, you know, messed up stuff that even established companies like Nova has probably been around since before I was even born. How are you guys fucking up people's visas in this day and time? And that's why I couldn't accept the job, you guys. I was gonna accept their job offer out of desperation because I needed a work visa, you know, badly. My visa was expiring. But I was like, I'm not about to chance applying to you guys and having to leave the country, go to a place that I hate, and then, you know, come back here when I could have just, you know, stayed here in the first place, save myself money, save myself time. It's not worth it. So, you know, pick your poison, do what you want to do. I'm just giving you my own 2 cents. I hope this does not happen to you, but I'm simply explaining that having a student visa is not as easy as you guys are thinking that it is, and that money is going to go a lot faster than you think it is, and it is not made to pay your tuition. If you are trying to use that for your tuition, you need a lot more money saved up, so much money saved up that you will not be able to do it. You would be like 30 or 40 years old by the time you have enough money to pay for your college without having any loans, without having any credit, and without really doing much work. You working a part-time job can help, you know, knock off a little bit of your expenses and pay towards some of your tuition, but it cannot help you cover your tuition in Japan. You cannot, do a payment plan where you're paying them $50 a month. That's not going to work out, you guys. You have to pretty much give them the entire amount for your semester and put down large sums of money to pay off the remaining amount. It all has to be paid off by the end of the semester. They're not going to give you a year to pay off, spring semester's fees. It doesn't work that way. If you can't pay for school, they'll stop supporting your visa. They'll kick you out. You'll get expelled. You'll go back home. It's that simple. You have to plan. You have to be prepared. You need money. You need credit. You need loans. You need a savings account. And you might not be able to find a job right away for several different reasons, like I said. And if you have more questions on that, you can leave a comment down below, and I will try to answer and go into more detail. But this is just one example of many. So I hope this clarified the question, not the answer, or answered your question about why you need $10,000 or $20,000. Again, it's backup cushion money. This is not meant for you to live off of. This is not meant to pay for all your bills and expenses for a year in Japan. This is made for backup money because you might not be able to get a job right away, especially if you are not a native English speaker and you are not attractive. No, you do not need to be a native speaker. No, you do not need to be young. No, you do not need to be attractive, but it will help you significantly. The reality is most students get paid even less than those that have degrees or less than those that have spouse visas, and even less than those that have, experience. You're going to get paid very little. You're also not going to have a lot of flexibility and a lot of hours that you can work. And the jobs that you apply for would generally be fairly competitive because everybody wants to live in Tokyo. So your best bet would really be to live, move, study outside of that area. But of course, there's also more jobs and more opportunities in Tokyo. So again, pick your poison. I can't do everything for you. You're going to have to make some of your own decisions yourself. But I'm just telling you, what I can, helping you to the best of my ability as far as that goes. And once again, as far as your student visa goes, while it is an easy way to get into the country, it can be very hard to find employment on it though, because a lot of places see it as you working illegally. They don't know the rules as far as the student visa goes. They don't understand the stamps. They refuse to and are stubborn and will not listen to you when you tell them about what immigration has to say. When you send them links, documents, print stuff out, put it right under their face, under their nose or whatever, they will refuse to listen to you. So there's a lot of craziness that goes on with having a student visa. Like I said, I barely made it. I almost had to go back home. It was very hard for me to find an initial visa sponsor. The great thing is once you get your first work visa, it'll be very easy to renew it and find additional and new sponsors in the future. But when you first get started with trying to switch from a student to work visa, they may or may not make you go through hell. So I highly suggest that you are prepared for that. You do need a job, and having a job, even if it's just part-time, does help you in Japan. But it is not enough to authentically really live off of. Depending on where you live, a part-time job can cover your rent, but you need more than just, pay your rent. You have food, you need, money for transportation, you need money for entertainment, for clothes, for toiletries, etc. You need to be realistic. If you're gonna live in Japan and be on a, strictly curry diet and have diarrhea every day for the entire week, that's not living in Japan. That's surviving, and it's not worth it. It really is not. There's no special award or reward for coming to Japan before you're a certain age. I see a lot of people think like they have this dumb goal. I want to make it to Japan before I'm 25, or I want to get to Japan before I'm out of my teens. Okay, there's no scholarship for that. You're not going to get paid more for that. You're not going to become famous off of that. Who fucking cares? There's people that came to Japan when they were 5 years old. Good for fucking you. Do you see them bragging about it online? No. It doesn't do anything for you. There's no magical prize, reward, or discount for life because you made it to Japan. Being in Japan is also not an accomplishment. It's not something that you add to your resume. Now, working in Japan can be if you work a legitimate job, but working at a cafe in Japan is not. You need to understand that. And like I said before, the likelihood of you becoming a legitimate model, idol, whatever is pretty much zero. Being a soft porn star, posing nude for DVDs or covers of magazines is not being an idol. You're a porn star. Soft porn, still porn. You're not famous. You're not a legitimate celebrity. Do not idolize, no pun intended, or try to become like these people. It's humiliating, and it will stick with you for the rest of your life because that's what people are going to know you as and or for. If that's what you want to do, no shade, not gonna judge you. But I'm just letting you know that these are unrealistic dreams. There are plenty of people that unfortunately look a lot better than you, that are a lot slimmer than you, that have the look that you don't have. And they are the ones that are going to get that job. It's very competitive. The pay is very low. There's a lot of travel required, and in general, you cannot do this on a student visa. You generally need a spouse, entertainment, and or work visa, which you probably will not have, and you probably don't have if you're watching this video. Most of the modeling work is basically pornography for foreigners that are desperate and looking for fame, and beyond that, it's underpaid gigs in which they either pay you nothing but steal your image and make money off of it, or they give you very little and basically steal your image and make money off of it. So it's totally up to you. Not gonna judge you. Do what you want to do. Just letting you know that coming here on a student visa can be a little bit harder than you guys are really thinking. So to wrap up my long rant, all I'm trying to say is this is why you need credit. You need loans. You need to save. You need to do serious research, and you need to stop using I'm studying Japanese as I'm researching. That's not researching. I'm watching YouTube videos on how to make friends in Japan. That's not doing research. If what you're doing is not earning you college credits, putting money that can be seen and taken out of a bank account, if it's not giving you money, it's not earning you credits, you are not working towards coming to Japan. I'm sorry to break it to you. You can call it whatever you want to, but what you're doing is procrastinating. You do not need Japanese. Your business plans or whatever is not going to make you any serious money. I'm sorry. It can help you with paying to get here, but maybe in combination with another job. It's very unlikely that you're going to make the new Fashion Nova within a year, and that's going to get you to Japan. Be realistic with yourself. Again, you could fool yourself, but you're not tricking me. I just read your comments, I read your emails, and I laugh to myself, and I pray to God for wisdom to not reply and say something ignorant to you. So I'm so sorry, you guys. I know a lot of you guys are gonna hate me and I'm gonna seem like a bitch, but it's whatever. If that's what it makes me, so be it. Tough love, being honest with you guys. So do whatever you want to do. I hope this doesn't happen to you, and everyone's experience is totally different. Not everyone struggles on a student visa, but I'm letting you know that this is something that can happen. So you want to be prepared in case, worst case scenario does take place. So anyway, I will make more videos on this topic. Hopefully it will be a lot shorter. I would really appreciate it if you would like, comment, and if you have not already, subscribe to my channel. What else can I tell you? I have an Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, and a Facebook page as well. The links to everything are down in the description box below, as well as at the end of this video. And I hope you will check out my playlist and my blog post category on studying in Japan and advice for college students. Please check out those things before you ask me questions. I probably already answered them there. But of course, if you have a new question that wasn't really answered, feel free to leave a comment down below. Other than that, thank you for watching, and I hope you will watch another video. Goodbye.